And you guys are live.
Thanks. Thank you. I'd like to entertain a motion that we begin the planning committee meeting of Akron City Council. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Roll call, please. Sarah Viviano.
Fusco,
Aye.
Kamer,
Aye.
Connor,
Aye.
Baylor,
Aye.
Mosley.
Aye.
All committee members are present.
Thank you. We have an item that is up for public hearing today. So what I'm going to do is go over those rules and procedures that we'll follow in terms of this public hearing. What occurs is that we will have a report from our planning department in terms of the proposed conditional use. After that, we'll ask that a representative from our law department swear in anyone that wishes to speak during a public hearing. After that, we'll close the public, we'll listen to comments, either favor or against, or just common questions. And then after that, what we'll then do is close the public hearing portion and open up questions for committee members and then to all of council for council comments or questions. We'll in essence repeat that at 7 o'clock this evening. The same procedures, however, the only major difference is that we will then make a recommendation. The committee will recommend all of council either in favor, against, or to table an item, take time. Those are the procedures. First of all, though, let's entertain a motion to accept the minutes of the last meeting.
So move.
There's a second.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. You guys have it. The first item that is up for public hearing is the ordinance authorizing a conditional use to establish a type A daycare home, 986 Raymond Street. Mr. Antonucci.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. Lamelia Barclay is requesting permission to establish a child daycare home, a type A home at this location. The proposed type A daycare home, Melia's Unique Angels, would occupy the first floor of the two-story, 1,300 square foot dwelling. The facility would provide services and activities for up to 12 children at a time, ranging in age from 6 weeks to 12 years. The daycare would be operated 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, with every other weekend off. Children will be dropped off and picked up along the house street, which is the side of the house. It's a corner lot. The property contains a rear yard outdoor play area, which is enclosed by a 6-foot tall chain link fence. Petitioner has stated that she has 19 years of child care experience and desires to eventually open a full retail daycare center. Due to the flexible and varied scheduling needs of the children, the proposed daycare should not significantly raise the level of activity on this property. The Sherbondi Hill neighborhood property is well maintained. Providing quality daycare services is beneficial to the entire city. Office of Integrated Development, Planning Staff, and Planning Commission recommend approval subject to conditions. Thank you.
Thank you for that report, Mr. Antonucci. Well, now, before we open up the public hearing, I'll ask a representative of our law department to please swear in any individuals who may be providing testimony during the public hearing. Mr. Angeloni, are you here for this?
I am.
Okay.
Thank you, Chairman. If there's anybody here today wishing to speak on this matter, if you would raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, say I do.
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you,
I
Mr.
do.
Thank you. Very good. We'll open up the public hearing portion and ask if there's anyone here wishing to speak on this particular item. I'm just going to go through the list that I have here of those that signed in. I see the petitioner, Barclay, Lamelia. Is that she on here? The
Mr.
petitioner.
Chair, she has not joined the meeting.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Danny Moore.
Yeah.
Darren Moore, is it? Please feel free to make comment. You're muted at the moment.
Okay, there it goes. Just on behalf of Amelia, she does have 21 years experience. 20 years experience, and she worked at 2 daycare centers. I think it was 2 daycare centers. And she currently runs a type B in her home at this time. So I can't vouch for her
I
experience.
shouldn't be real long
her
if you want to
expertise.
have lunch.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Mr. Moore. Thank you. Next, I see here Aletha Harris Beasley.
Good morning. I'm having trouble trying to get my video started. It won't show my video, but I'm calling in behalf for, want to first say that Lamelia is my daughter. I have a in-home daycare, which is a type A, and I've been running mine since 2010. Lamelia has more than enough experience for this type of work and to be able to conduct herself with that many kids. She in high school, she was working for a daycare center. She got her ECE. She's currently in the process of getting her CDA. She's been working with me since 2010 until she started her own and branched off into a type B. So her being able to accommodate some of the families that's in her area to where she has made a reputation for herself and got her name out there. So now more people are coming to her asking for her to help them because they don't have a car or because she's around the corner from them and in their walking distance of them. So they have been contacting her, and with the amount of kids right now, she's not able to accommodate those families. Her being able to get this type A would help her to be able to accommodate those families in that area that are not mobile and whose kids do go to school around the corner, or the preschool or the Head Start that's around the corner there, as well as it'll help the other daycare that's in that area that she also used to work at, in order to be able to help them out on the hours, because they have changed their hours and they close a lot earlier. So I think it'll be a good asset to that area. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. I'm going to ask if there's anyone else here that wishes to speak in favor of this conditional use request. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Anyone wishing to speak against? Anyone wishing to speak against? I don't see any hands. Raise your hands. Very good. We'll close the public hearing portion of this conditional use request and now open up to any committee members that may have comments or questions. Any committee members? Okay. Any council members have any questions or comments at this time? Reference the conditional use request at 986 Raymond Street. Anyone? No questions or comments? Very good. I would like to invite you both back this evening. It's 7 o'clock. We'll have an additional public hearing and your comments are certainly welcomed. And we would appreciate it if you can forward your comments, but you are in the record right now. So thank you for coming this afternoon. We appreciate your input and hopefully we'll see you tonight at 7. Thank you very much for attending. We'll now move on to the balance of the agenda. I'm going to ask that we take time on 2, 3, and 4, and that we now discuss item number 5, which is the resolution adopting the 2022 Capital Investment and Community Development Program, legally referred to as the Capital Investment Program. So anyone, Helen Tomic, any comments?
I will just add that we have discussed this proposed budget. We held hearings on January 10th, on January 24th, I believe. And I believe we answered all questions posed by council, and we would respectfully ask for your passage tonight. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm going to open it up. Is there any questions or comments from anyone in reference to the capital budget, the 2022 capital budget? Ms. Amovi, I see your hand is up.
Thank you. I did see an email under the heading of council response that was in response to the capital investment project. Am I correct, Mrs. Tomic?
Correct. We've sent two responses. One was from the actual hearings on the 10th and then the 24th. And the second response was sent late last week in response to comments that were made on February 7th.
And I think I'm referencing the last one. And it had in there a section, it was question number 2, I believe, that talked about CDC
Mhm.
and supportive housing.
Mhm.
Are we talking about, what, that doesn't fall in that rehab housing?
No,
of
it does not.
individual homes, because it talks
does
about
not, no.
supportive housing or.
It talks
That-
about CDC.
That's
I
totally
think we,
separate. Okay.
correct,
I just want to make
correct,
sure.
correct.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Anyone whatsoever? Mr. Malik, I see your hands up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate all of the responsiveness and all the information that's been shared throughout the process. I know last week I did ask that question that Councilwoman Amobian referred to about the money that's been budgeted for CDC support. I appreciate the response, but the response did really contain just kind of a general definition of CDCs. As we go forward, I understand that, the complete RFP and that kind of thing may not be available right now, but absolutely would like to make sure that, council stays engaged in that process as it unfolds. Thank you.
Yeah, let me jump in real quick, Jeff. I'm sorry. Obviously, there are a number of CDCs that have asked for or will continue to ask for support depending on their mission, which is good. We should be out there. Kenmore Neighborhood Alliance, the Well, all of those. And so as part of that ARPA funding and being able to help them as best possible and their missions, we certainly entertain some proposals to say, okay, what's your mission and how we can best support it? So because each one of them are different and they're going to have a different need based on those neighborhoods. I can tell you that having ENDC is probably our best example because they do a great job with housing, supportive, new, and they're even kind of increasing that. And so as we get some of those CDCs and they're able to get some stronger footing, and I would even point to KNA, Kenmore Neighborhood Alliance, over the last 3-4 years, that's really kind of coalesced around the district. To be able to do that, we want to be able to supportive of that. So as we get those proposals, and obviously they are coming from and supportive of their council members too, to be able to do some things around that mission, we'll certainly sharing those as we get those kind of defined out there. But we really wanted to have some money set aside because the worst thing we can have to do is have a CDC fail. We don't want that, and having 20 of them with $1,000 or maybe 4 or 5 really good ones around the city that have really specific missions. That's kind of the goal, to make sure that they're on a better footing and they're able to fulfill that mission. And I would point to the Well as another one around supportive housing and around new housing as we're able to do that too. So that may give you a little bit more clarity of where the CDC is going at that particular point, because I think each one of them is different. And what I never wanted to do was define their mission for them. They need to be able to define that. And then obviously we support on those efforts to be able to do that with the funding and to continue to do that going forward. So I hope that adds a little bit more clarity, and you should see some more as we go forward.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Malik, anything else?
Yeah, no, I thank you, Mayor, for that explanation. I think where I had originally come at this was, there is a line item for housing investments, and then there was the separate CDC line item. And so I was just looking for some of the justification in, how we arrived at that amount and some information, given that the RFPs, have not been developed yet. But
yeah, certainly somebody will. Yeah, certainly, a CDC may not be around housing. A CDC may be around something else, but those housing supportive efforts, they could overlap too. And so.
Absolutely. And I appreciate the clarity that you provided there and the understanding that we have lots of different CDCs. We don't want to see them fail. So thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Mobian.
Yes, thank you. I understand what you're saying, Mr. Mayor. What I am hopefully interested in is trying to make sure that there's some clarity around rehabbing homes that people live in all throughout the city. And I talked to Mrs. Tomic last week about trying to target that Douglas Bishop area over by the Inner Belt.
Right.
If we could do that, I just want to know, where will we find those dollars? And I realize things have not been necessarily developed yet, but I want us to be real clear about those dollars and how we plan to spend them.
Absolutely.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. Any other comments or questions reference the 2022 capital budget? Anyone else? Okay, very good. At this point, I would like to ask for a favorable recommendation.
I'll make a motion for a favorable suspension of the rules with a favorable report.
Second.
Okay, very good. I think we're all okay on the suspension of the rules side. Thank you for mentioning that, but I think I think this is the third reading, so we're good on that one. Thank you, though. And thank you for the favorable report. On the favorable report, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Against? Very good. I believe that was everyone was an aye on that. If there wasn't, please be accounted for. Thank you. Gonna recommend that we take time then. And I didn't mention this, but I know this takes a lot of effort and a lot of time. I think we mentioned it last week, but Helen Tomic just has worked extremely hard on this along with her team. And so we appreciate all the effort. And I also appreciate the exchange with council and the administration. Mr. Luddle, all those that contributed, obviously putting this together, all those civil servants, if you will, who's been part of this. We really appreciate your efforts. I know many of you kind of went above and beyond in terms of putting this together. And thank you for that work.
Thank you for the opportunity to work with you as well. Thanks.
Thank you, Ellen Tomic. Very good. On the balance of the agenda, I'm going to request that we take time up until 10. Item number 11, this is the Director of Planning and Urban Development, or his designee, to sell the city-owned property located at 14228 Hoover Road, Troy Township, Ohio. This is something that was introduced a few months ago. I understand there were some questions on this. Mr. Volman is here to speak on this, I believe.
Yes. Hi. Thank you, Chairman. Let's go, members of the committee. We had brought this up in September of last year. It's some property out in the watershed area that we wanted to sell was unnecessary for city purposes, and it's been a place where there's been vandalism and other things, and one of the neighboring property owners was interested in purchasing it. If you remember, it's kind of like a circle in the middle of a bunch of spokes of property, and so we thought we should check with all the neighbors and see what the interests were. And the only one interested was the one that initially had reached out, and they had offered to pay $60,000 for the property. At those committee meetings, questions had come up about mineral or oil and gas rights for the property, and whether or not those would be being sold along with the property that we were selling. In general, the answer to that is yes, when you sell property. However, we said that we would look into it. Throughout the time, we've been looking into it, and we found out that indeed council, and let me pass legislation. I have it right in front of me somewhere, but I want to say back in 2005 or 6, of course I closed that down. Selling, we had already included this in the oil and gas rights for this property in a previous piece of legislation. And in fact, while nothing was built on this property, it's part of conglomeration of properties that were included so that oil and gas rights could be sold. We have been getting, I think we've been getting some money over the years. I think that last year it turned out to be about $400. But I guess the short answer is that no, we would not be selling the oil and gas rights along with this property because they were sold in 2005, and the ordinance was 633/2005 was the ordinance that I was trying to pull up. But we would like to go forward with this legislation now and ask for passage.
Thank you, Mr. Volman. Any questions or comments from any committee members? Questions or comments from council members? Ms. Samples? I'm sorry, Mosley. Sorry about that.
That's okay. It's fine. So Sean, can you go back a little bit? So you're saying because there was an ordinance back in 2005 and 6?
633/2005.
2005. that there was an ordinance that gave those rights, that carries over to 2022?
Well, we entered into a contract back then and it continues. There's a well that takes oil and gas. And it's still part of that entire whatever neighboring property that well is on, our property is still a part of that. So short answer is yes, it is.
So how long was the contract for?
Those contracts are generally until the well stops producing. That's the general how those are laid out.
And that's noted in that 2005. Can you send me that? Because I wasn't on council at the time. Yeah. I'd like to see that.
Okay.
So how long normally does a well produce?
Just depends on whether or not there's actual, substances out there for it to. I don't know that there's I'm not an expert. I don't know that there's an answer to that.
Chris, would you know that answer?
Well, usually it's till they quit producing and then they have so long to cap the well. So this one's still producing even though it's a small amount. And there's no equipment on this property that we own. There's no wellhead, there's no tank batteries, there's nothing on our property. It's on the adjacent property. So they incorporated this 15 acres back in 2005 when they drilled this well on adjacent property.
And the well that was drilled on the adjacent property, who does that belong to?
It was originally Briggs well, as the permit was given to.
And Oak now is the name of the company.
Yeah,
or something like that. Yeah.
Sean, can you send me that contract? I'd appreciate it.
I'll send you what I have.
All right,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Malik.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Volman, for the information. Basically, to try to simplify it just a little bit, we can't sell the oil and gas rights in this current sale because we've already sold them back in 2005.
Correct.
Okay. And beyond the proceeds from that, from the continual, the drilling that is occurring, we don't retain any interest, that we're going to convey going forward.
We don't maintain any. We will be selling out. We will be selling the property to the new property owner. So we won't have any interest other than we will continue to receive the money from the oil company.
Okay. And per Councilwoman Mosley's point, if the lease could be provided to us as well, that would be helpful. Thank you.
So I believe that we'd like to see this passed. Is there apprehension? What do you want to do, committee? Ms. Mosley?
Yes, I really would like to see that contract. I don't feel comfortable voting on it, but I can't speak for the other committee members. But if you want to take a vote on it, that's fine. I won't be voting yes. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Mr. Malik?
I appreciate the information that's been shared. Would it be okay to take 1 week's time just to, look at the supporting documentation before moving forward?
Mr. Volman?
I think this has been on there for a fair amount of time, and I'm happy to provide that information, but I also don't think that's particularly relevant to the sale of the property now. But another week, I guess we can.
Mr. Chair, can I share my screen just to kind of show some clarity where this is at in the watershed?
Sure, Mr. Lettle. Yeah, that's fine. while we're waiting, it doesn't seem as though anything's going to change.
No,
Nothing's going to change because this contract for the mineral rights is passed a long time ago. That's not going to change. And we're going to sell the property and that's not going to change. I mean, that's what we'd like to do. I don't know.
Yeah, can you see my screen, Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Okay, this is the property we're talking about. This is the people that would like to buy it. We have had numerous calls on this property, whether it's trees falling, people riding four-wheelers. And as you can see, when I show you how the distance from this property's edge to when I go to the Cauga River here, we're about a mile away. And then when I go all the way to our watershed, we're about 3 miles. So why they bought this in 1931, I have no idea. But this property really has no useful to our watershed. And then these property owners will take it. They will take care of it. And I just wanted to provide that little bit of clarity. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Luttle. Very good. Is consent agenda okay, Mr. Volman?
certainly.
Is there a desire for that from the committee, or we'd like to go forward on this? I have no problem voting in favor of this. I don't know what's going to change. I haven't heard anything that would change unless we want to amend the legislation, just not sell it. Because I don't think the contract for the royalties is going to change. And the question, it seems to me, is do we want to sell this property or not sell the property? That seems to be, it's kind of clear cut for me. And well, the administration is going to provide the information to all of council in terms of that, the lease agreement, I guess. So I don't really have a problem in terms of moving forward on this, unless I'm missing something, and always receptive to that. So with that,
Mr. Chair, if you don't mind, I'll make the motion to suspend the rules, obviously with the explanation from Service Director Chris Lytle, and then Sean Volman, and seeing the map. I'm comfortable moving forward with it.
Okay.
And I'll make that for suspension of the rules.
Okay, thank you. I would ask just for a favorable report, not suspension of the rules.
Right.
Okay, favorable report. So
Yeah.
there is a motion for a favorable report. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against?
Again, nay.
Okay, Sarah, let's go ahead and have a roll call, please.
Sure. Fusco,
Aye.
Hamer,
Aye.
Connor,
Aye.
Baylor,
Aye.
Mosley.
Nay.
The motion for a favorable report passes 4-1.
Thank you. I do see Mr. Malik's hand up. I'll provide you with a moment if you'd like to make a comment, sir.
Sure, just very briefly, Mr. Volman, would it be possible to provide the lease from the 2005 sale today?
I will have to try to, I don't know. I will look for it. I certainly get you the legislation. I don't have physical copy of it with me.
Okay, I pulled up the legislation here, and the attachment is just a map. But I'm not trying to be a stickler. I just want to understand what legal rights were conveyed in 2005 and what legal rights we would retain. I guess what we're saying is at the expiration of any lease, there would be no ability to reconvey it because the well would be exhausted. That's a correct understanding?
My understanding.
Would we retain? I mean, would the oil and gas rights revert to us when the lease expires? Or would they go to the new property?
My thought would be it would go to the current property owner.
Okay, thank you.
All we would be maintaining is the contractual right to keep the stream of income.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, very good. I'm going to ask for time on the balance of the regular agenda. We can move into the new list. The first item is ordinance of authorizing the Director of Public Service or his designee to enter into a lease agreement with Level 3 Communications for the lease of approximately, I guess it's 1,627 and a half square feet of city-owned land at 451 Hickory. Someone here on this, Mr. Luttle, are you here on this?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. If I one thing on this legislation, sir, I want to make It's going to be 450/451, and we'll make that change. It's just an address change on that. But what this is a fiber shed that's been on our property since 1998. It was recently changed hands to another communication company. I think Ameritech had it originally. The original lease agreement, they were paying us $600 a month. We've renegotiated that, and the new rental term is for $1,200 a month for the years of 2016 moving forward. And this will we're going to do a 5-year agreement with them till from this point forward, and then it'll have an escalator of 15% escalator for each term from 1380 to 1587 to 1825 per month.
I'm sorry, could you please repeat that, please?
The new rental amount is going to be $1,200 a month. It was $600 a month. Okay. So the lease provides for 3 5-year renewals with 15% escalator for each term. So the first term after the escalator will be 1380, then it'll be 1587, then it'll be 1825 per month.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Questions or comments from anyone? Is there Ms. Mosley, did you have a question?
I do, thank you. Chris, part of the contract says it's for telecommunication purposes and related site preparation. Is there a tower back there? Like what exactly is?
No, it's a real small building that they use for the fiber comes in underground. And then there is no tower. I think it's more or less like an above ground vault, like we see in Main Street, the new vaults that were put in. So it's all their switching gear and that type of thing. So there is no tower. It's back in the woods. If you go down Hickory and right before you do the tracks for the Ohio-Cauga Valley, it's back in the woods up in there. And we just have to provide access to them.
So it's just for the above ground vault.
Yeah, it's like a real small building. It's not much bigger than the old, the old voting booths you used to see at the end of dead end streets, if you're old enough for that.
I'm not old enough for that, Chris. So at no time will there be a tower put up or resurrected
Nope,
back here?
that is not part of this, and they will not put a tower. No.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Mr. Lowe, what's the parcel number here? I'm looking for it.
Well, the parcel number, I can pull it up here.
Because there's a map attached and I can't.
Yeah, it doesn't have it on there.
The
parcel number, sir, is 6708131. And the address should be 450/451. And we'll get that changed.
81. Yeah, I'm not. 670. I'm just not seeing it on the map. Is there a rush?
I mean, we're good. We can do consent, but 68, try this parcel number. I'm sorry, 6859395.
That's the one. Okay, I got you.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, now I see it's, and I assume it's going to be toward the back, or
it's all the way back in the back corner up against the woods by the tracks.
Okay, is this then going to make that, so we're selling, this is a lease agreement, right?
Yes, sir.
Are we going to be able to develop that eventually with I don't know if it's big enough.
If you remember, there was that big landscaping building back there. So it was developed previously. And then this was part of when we were going to put a cul-de-sac back there and develop all that, we were going to keep Hickory closed. When we changed and we talked to the residents and opened Hickory back up, that building was in a condition where it was taken down. But yeah, absolutely, this could be developed for residential or commercial.
Okay, good. I just wanted to see if that's still in play. Okay, Thank you. So consent agenda is okay. Any further questions from anyone on council or committee or this is kind of lengthy, the lease agreement. So let's go ahead and I'm happy to ask for a consent agenda on this.
That's fine.
Thank you. Is there a motion for consent?
Motion for consent.
Second? Out there?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Very good. The ayes have it. The next item is ordinance authorizing the purchase of 5 properties on Copley Road in furtherance of the city's Great Streets Akron initiative. Is there anyone here wishing to speak on this particular item?
I can do that. Yeah, we are looking to buy 5 vacant properties from the land bank that they have foreclosed on. They are, mostly by the way of opportunity purchases in the Copley Road, Great Streets area. Ideally, we'd like to, partner with existing businesses or, I guess potentially new businesses for the use of those land. I have Summer Hall and Mark Greer if there are specific questions about the property themselves, but vacant lands that we're getting at I think about $400 a piece in that area.
Very good. Very good. Questions or comments from any committee members? Any council members? Mr. Malik, I see your hands up.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Excited to see this because I think it's been great seeing all of the work that's been done in the Copley Road Great Streets District. I wonder if, Mr. Greer, if you might have any comment on some of the anticipated uses. Are we looking to have new buildings constructed on some of these properties? Are we looking at, having existing places use, the vacant lots? I know that, some of these lots I think were used during the Better Block, just from what I was looking at. So just wanted to hear any thoughts that you have.
So yes, we have already outreach with a lot of the existing businesses in the area. 2 of the 5 lots are actually residential lots, and we've also spoken with people in the area who are interested in purchasing those lots with the purpose of building new housing. The lots there at the corner of Copley and Orlando. There's a couple of adjacent businesses who have shown interest in those lots. And there's one that's adjacent to a church, and the church has shown interest in that lot with the idea of building a parking lot.
That's wonderful. And thank you for your work. And thank you, Ms. Hall, for your work as well on this.
Thank you, Mr. Malik, for your comments. Further comments or questions from anyone at this point? Is this consent agenda okay on this?
That'd be great.
Consent, okay. Very good. Is there a motion for consent?
Motion for consent.
Is there a second out there?
Second.
All those in favor of consent agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Again? Very good. Thank you all. The ayes have it. That wraps up the planning committee meeting of Akron City Council. I'll turn it over to Sarah Biviano.
Our next committee of the day will be the Public Service Committee, and that will begin at 2 o'clock. Those committee members are Mosley, Kamer, Holland, Lombardo, and McKittrick. Again, that's the Public Service Committee. So we will end our live stream and be back